Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Marianne Monteleone. I have the benefit and privilege of filling in for Evan Smith, our Global Liaison staff person. I'm the Education Director for LIBOR, and I have the privilege of introducing today's guest in our third week of Global Awareness Month. Each Wednesday is committed to global awareness and what it is, how to break into that marketplace and bring some educational awareness to our members. So we're so happy to have you with us today to provide pertinent information to help you succeed in the global marketplace. Global real estate is a sector of the real estate industry that is often misunderstood. When most real estate agents think about conducting global real estate transactions, they believe they need to know a foreign language, travel somewhere overseas, or speak a different language, but local realtors are conducting these type of transactions every day, and some don't even realize they are involved in global business. Today, we have the pleasure to host global real estate practitioner Brian Woods. Let me read his introduction so I don't miss anything because it really is quite accomplished. Mr. Brian Woods is a seasoned real estate broker, investor, property manager, community association manager, insurance agent, instructor, and speaker. Mr. Woods owns and operates multiple real estate brokerages, a property and community association management firm, commercial and investment finance company, insurance agency, and a real estate school. Brian is also focused on creating additional professional development courses and certifications in major business areas: sales, marketing, negotiations, pricing, technology, client representation, international business, cultural awareness, and diversity through his education and coaching organization. He believes education is the key to everything. In providing a global real estate business, he believes real estate professionals need to ensure that they have a clear understanding of anything that potentially impacts clients. So without further delay, we welcome and turn it over to you, Brian.
Thank you, Marianne. I appreciate it. And I guess good afternoon to everybody joining us here in Eastern time anyway. Who knows, maybe you're joining us from someplace else as well. That's the beauty of these types of webinars. But, global is a wonderful opportunity. We've got a jam-packed agenda for you over the next hour or so. And I would encourage you, if you have questions, we have the Q&A box that is enabled here. Please feel free to put your questions into the Q&A so that we can make sure that we're answering all of those questions as well. And so, it's kind of funny. Right before I'm joining you here, I was actually having a conversation on a commercial piece of land that I have for sale. And my client is from India. So, I not only do I instruct about this type of stuff, but I'm actually a practitioner out in the field, just like you guys and gals are. What are we going to talk about today? Well, let's talk about the importance of global real estate. We'll talk about what's kind of happening in the real estate world today and some differences between your domestic clients and your global clients. I think it's important that you understand and you start off with your goals because if you don't know where it is that you're going, then anywhere is going to seem good, even if it's not necessarily the direction that you're really looking for. We'll talk about your global services and solutions, and then I'm going to talk about resources that are available that you may not be aware of, and then also different opportunities for being able to market and grow your global real estate business. As part of this, there's a lot of education that's available. Two that I will point out that I think are very, very important. Number one is NAR's Certified International Property Specialist, the CIPS designation. And also then I have a one-day, it's 2 4-hour courses that is specifically about hands-on stuff. So kind of taking what we're talking about over the next hour into deep level of content and stuff for you to actually be able to put into immediate practice in your business as well. So kind of an enhancement to CIPS. Just a little bit additional about me, so you kind of understand where I'm coming from. My background is actually in information technology, project management, and international business. I have lived and worked or visited a lot of the places around the world, sometimes for months at a time. So I literally have friends and business contacts from all over the world. And part of this is understanding the different cultures. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a little while here. I was the 2019 Certified International Property Specialist Instructor of the Year, and then Global Chair also of the state of Florida, where we did a trade mission that had about 350 people to go to Dubai. And in a past life, I was the NAR President's Liaison to Panama, and I frequently work together with international clients and international real estate agents on international business, whether that be residential, commercial, or business brokerage opportunities as well. As we get started, let me just kind of ask a couple of questions here to get us in the right mindset. First of all, why do you think that foreigners like owning real estate in the United States? Go ahead and type your answer into the chat. Why do you think foreigners like, and international buyers like owning real estate in the United States? Okay, yeah, it's a place to visit. It's a relatively safe investment, because I'm sure most of us can agree that regardless of what your political affiliation or mindset is, the government in the US is much more stable than governments throughout the rest of the world in general. It's a place to be able to hand down to their family. They can experience the American dream. Yeah, and yeah, so Yoshi says, hey, this is something where they can actually own it, which is a big deal, because throughout most of the rest of the world, you don't actually own the land. You only you have a lease to the land, and the government owns the land, whereas here they actually physically own the property. So that's a huge opportunity that's available for us here. Who has been buying real estate in your market, specifically international? Who are your international buyers? Are you tracking those? Who are your clients that you are seeing again and again and again? So you guys are in a wonderful spot, international spot. People know about you guys. Okay, Chinese are buying. Who else? Canadians, yes. Who else? Korean, Indian, right? The UK is buying, yes. So all of these people are buying in your area, and they've got to work with somebody who knows what they're doing, not only here, but also the culture, and also how things work back where they're from as well. So especially if it's the first time that they've ever bought something internationally or bought something here in the US, this is something that can be a completely new process to them. And even though we have a lot of similarities across the states, each state is different. That's why there's a real estate license required in each state, right? And not one federal real estate license, so that you understand everything that's going on there. And last kind of setup question, why are they actually, in some cases, holding off on buying real estate? So it's important why you understand why they're buying, but it's also important that you understand why they might not be buying right now, or why they've put their purchase on hold. What do you think about why they might hold off on it? That way we understand both sides of the spectrum. Okay, rates. Several different types of rates. All right, we'll talk about some of those rates here. Political reasons for some countries. One thing about politics that holds pretty true throughout the rest of the world, including here in the US, is when there is a major political election that's coming up, oftentimes people will just take a time out. They'll take a break. Why? Because they want to wait and see which party is getting into power, what their policies are actually going to be, and then ultimately be able to make a determination as to how they're going to move forward after they understand that. So that's very common throughout the rest of the world. Yeah, inventory. Lack of inventory, right? And lack of being able to place people in the houses. And now that the interest rates are a lot higher, people who have lower interest rates are thinking twice about putting their house on the market and being able to go into another property, because now they're going to give up their low interest rate to a much higher interest rate. Let's look at the connectivity of the world. This has really changed how we do things. If you think about it, the internet and how many people are connected from wherever, the various different parts of the world. Some of you are chart people like this and like to look at the numbers. So I figured I'd give you the numbers. Obviously, you can see that Asia is by far the highest population, and also by far the highest number of internet users as well. But I do want to point out something here. I want to point out Africa. A lot of times people have not necessarily focused on Africa, and there's a huge opportunity in Africa. In fact, the National Association of Realtors created a brand new Africa class that is an optional module in the CIPS framework there. If you haven't had the opportunity to take that class, I would encourage you guys to do that. Even if you just take the Africa module, if you've already gotten your CIPS, I think you will find that to be very, very insightful for your business. Some of you, though, I know appreciate having the visual side of things, so I figured I'd give you the visual side as well here. So there's the internet users by geographic regions. Let's talk a little bit about what you need to kind of keep in mind as far as when you are working with your global business and global prospects. So global is happening, and I think you guys realize this, whether you are brand new into the business or have been in the business for quite a while, but global is happening all around you. And especially where you guys are located, you see the global landscape all day long. But global's happening everywhere else too. I was out in Oklahoma last year, and I was talking with them, and people were like, well, we're in Oklahoma, there's no global, until I started listing off some of the companies that were in the area. And then they started realizing, oh yeah, there was a lot of global that's going on, and oh yeah, the Chinese are buying up a lot of the land and things like that. So global's happening everywhere. Business drives global, but also so does pleasure. So really, when you are looking at working on your global business, you need to have flexibility. Realistically, with the internet, you are able to, if you have your computer, you have your phone, you have an internet connection, and I guess I'll throw in there that you have a power connection too, because all that stuff stops real quick if you lose all your power. Which, by the way, happens to be something that we kind of take for granted here in the US. Those of you that have traveled to other places in the world know that a lot of places are subject to brownouts and things like that. But if you have your computer, your internet connection, your cell phone, and a power connection, you can pretty much work from anywhere in the world. And COVID really was an opportunity to open a lot of people's eyes to that. And so people were shifting around, and they wanted to get out of their smaller in the middle of the city and get more space where they could go buy bigger and work from home. And now we have this hybrid and Zoom and all of that. Zoom, of course, was around long before COVID-19, but it certainly has affected how we do things. Now, global, I think, is a great way of being able to make your business resilient. Those of you who were already practicing global when the lockdown happened, you already were used to showing properties sight unseen and doing things on Zoom or things on FaceTime to be able to show them when your client was halfway around the world. You know, things like that you've already been used to were already now relevant as we made our way through the last couple of years with COVID-19. What are some of the other things, though? When you look at business flexibility, look at being able to outsource things to other places as well, right? You need to understand what your dollar per hour value is. And there's a lot of things, even virtual assistants or local assistants that you can shift over to other people. So that's really business flexibility there. Let's talk about some of the buying factors and what people are looking at. Well, obviously, you guys already mentioned politics are one big thing. So politics that are going on in either their home country or politics that are going on in the US, either one of those could be a huge influence in going ahead and purchasing. Certainly, the currency exchange rate matters. You know, as time goes on and value of monies change, right? It's very important to make sure that you actually have the currency and the monies that you need in the country that you are purchasing the property at the start of the transaction. Because any of you that have ever done an international wire transfer knows it's not instantaneous like that. In fact, it can take days, it can take weeks. If the numbers aren't exactly 100% right, the money can get sent back, and then you have to figure it out again. So it can be a very cumbersome type of process. And so also when the money, when their home currency is down, it's going to take a lot more of their home currency in order to actually be able to purchase a property. So you don't want during the couple of months that you're under contract, waiting to close, you don't want that currency fluctuation to happen. It's our job as practitioners to protect the general public, your customers and your clients about and educate them about these different things that are going to impact them. You made mention also, somebody said, different interest rates or returns, things like that. And so there are a number of different rates that come into play here. First of all, the interest rate. If they're buying and they're going to be financing any part of that, then the interest rate matters. The inflation, that erodes our buying power. So inflation rates matter. And people look at the rate of return as well, especially if they're going for an investment property. So all of these different types of rates go into whether or not they're going to buy something and what property, what type of property it is that they are going to buy. We also have the market cycles. So it was a crazy time over the last couple of years. Whoever would have thought that the market would have gone the way that it did when we were in the middle of a pandemic? But it did, and now we have corrections that are going on. We've got the interest rates that have doubled within a period of 9 months or so. People still have sticker shock to that. But as you're working with your international clientele, a lot of them are cash buyers, which actually puts them in a very good spot, because when they're competing against people here who are going to get a mortgage, who is having sticker shock still sometimes, they're just bringing their cash in and purchasing. So, the fact that the mortgage rate went up actually is a benefit to people who are buying cash there. When we are talking, and this is true here in the US as well as everywhere else, when we're talking and working with different cultures, it's very important that we keep a couple of things in mind. We have two big areas, and I'm gonna throw a third one in there that you could touch on as well. But we don't talk about politics, right? No matter what your political view is on things, you're going to alienate your customers and clients. Part of them you'll probably be in tune with, the other part you won't be. So we really need to make sure that we're very sensitive on the political discussions. Religion, especially for other cultures and people from around the world, religion can be a very powerful thing. In fact, religion comes into play when you are potentially showing them properties and working with them, because this is a major facet of a lot of people's lives. And so basically you need to make sure that you're open on this. You need to make sure that you know you're understanding and prepare your customers and your clients appropriately for religious things that are out there as well. Let's talk about some of the differences between your global and your domestic clients. So your domestic clients, most of you probably aren't going to go anywhere until you have a proof of funds or a financing pre-approval right up front. You want to know that they have that money right available and ready to go before you invest your time. Otherwise, you invest a bunch of time and they don't have the capacity to be able to buy, and now you just wasted all of your time. We have buyer representation and cooperation between brokers. That is a U.S. thing. There are very few other countries around the world that the agents cooperate the way that we do. And in very few countries around the world, there are MLS systems like what we have. So not only that we have to cooperate together under our state license laws and also the Realtor Code of Ethics, but also the fact that we have an MLS system, a unilateral offer of compensation to work with each other as well. And a lot of times here domestically, there is a better understanding of what the process is. I won't say that they completely understand the process, because that's probably not true. They still require you to be able to educate them on that. But at the end of the day, there tends to be a better understanding of what the process is than what it would be if this was their first time coming to a totally new country. Just like it would be for your first time going to some other country, you know, a totally different experience than what you have here in the United States. When you're working though with your global side of things, you have a little bit more sensitivity to personal information. You're not just going to sit down with somebody that you just met on the international side and say, okay, I need you to go ahead and show me your proof of funds. Please get out your bank statement and show me that you have the money that you're talking about. You're going to have to build, in a lot of cases, a lot more credibility and a lot more of a relationship before you're actually able to do that. You're going to have additional motivations that are coming in, maybe security. One thing that's a big thing around a lot of the world is people who have money and have wealth oftentimes are targeted for kidnappings and things like that of family members, so that they end up paying whatever the ransom is in order to get them back. They might be looking at immigration long term, right? Or any number of other things. So as part of us sitting down and having our consultation session or our strategy session with them, we need to uncover what this is so that we're able to actually have these conversations and best be able to help them. A lack of understanding of the process of buying, investing, and selling. You know, if you're in a foreign country, it tends to operate very differently from country to country. And so, you know, oftentimes as the realtor, you are the one that they make contact with first, and they expect us to know everything and be able to help them, including with this next one of tax implications. So how is this going to impact me tax-wise? Well, we're not tax professionals, we're not CPAs or accountants, so we should not be giving tax advice. How should I take title to this property is another common one that you get asked. We're not legal professionals, most of us, so we shouldn't be answering those types of questions. We need to make sure that we have those professionals on our team, though, because this is a team sport. This isn't something that we do just by ourselves. As we look throughout the different cultures in the world, we kind of break them up into high context and low context cultures. So high context cultures, it's all about indirect communication and implicit messages. What is not said, the nonverbal communication is very, very, very important. In fact, the Japanese have a saying that kind of literally translated is reading the air. Well, not literally trying to read letters in the air, but understanding the unsaid stuff. That's what really matters in high context cultures. Very low reliance on written communication, use intuition and feelings to make decisions, and long-term relationships. In high context societies, if you do not have a relationship, forget about doing business. It's that important. And there is no distinction in high context societies between a personal relationship and a business relationship. We have those distinctions here in the US because we're not a high context society. We're low context, which we'll get to in just a second. But we have to, especially for high context societies, high context cultures, your Latin America in general, your Asia in general, and certain sections of Europe, you're going to have to build those relationships. It's going to take time. No relationship, no business. And so those relationships are much more important than a schedule or anything else. On the opposite side of that, though, we have low context. Here in the US, we're a perfect example. Canada is a perfect example. The United Kingdom is a perfect example of low context. We are very direct and we have clear messages. We don't rely on the nonverbal stuff. It's what we're saying that actually matters. What is written on the contract is what matters. See, in high context societies, oftentimes the parties will just come back together again. If there's something that doesn't work for one of the parties, there's already an unsaid thing where they will come back together again and they will renegotiate the deal. Here in the US, no, whatever's written on that piece of paper, that's the deal, right? Rely on the facts and evidence for decisions. We're such focused. Now I realize the people on this call probably are much longer term focused. But in general, as a society, we are based on short-term relationships. And keeping to the schedule, hurrying up and getting things done is more important than the actual relationship itself. This chart here for preparing for negotiation, this is actually out of Erin Meyer's book, Getting to Ya, We, and Si, Da. This shows you where people are. Are they confrontational? Do they avoid confrontation? Are they emotionally expressive? You think about Italians and you think about, being very emotional, expressive with the hands and getting into the conversation, right? Or are they much more unexpressive and much more reserved? Now, Erin Meyer, that might be a name that some of you remember. Erin Meyer was a speaker at NAR in Chicago, and I think it was 2017 that NAR was last in Chicago. And so, she spoke to the global group there, but she's got a number of different books that are out. This is one of them. One of the other books that she has that I would totally suggest that you add to your book collection is The Culture Map. The Culture Map. And so this deals with how you handle other cultures and where things work amongst the various cultures. While I'm giving you books, I might as well give you this other one too. Most of you already have probably heard of it, and probably a lot of you already have this book, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention Kiss, Bow, or Shake Hands by Terry Morrison. Kiss, Bow, or Shake Hands by Terry Morrison. This is not a real estate book at all. This has to do with how to deal with the right cultures in the right way, what to do, what not to do. The unfortunate thing in business, and we're in business, is when we make a mistake, a cultural mistake, we don't necessarily find out about that until it's too late. See, we have this term, I'm sure most of you have heard of this term, it's called ghosting. That's where your client doesn't bother to call you back. You eventually realize that you did something wrong, but you might not even realize what it was that you did wrong. So you can't even apologize for something specific. But, it's important to have these books as reference guides to make sure that you don't do something incorrect when you're working with other cultures there. Loyalty. Throughout most of the rest of the world, you do not have loyalty as far as to an agent. Why is that? Well, how does most of the rest of the world work? If you have house A, it's listed with broker A, you got to go to broker A in order to see that. Broker B cannot show broker A's listing. House B is listed with broker B. You want to go see that one? You now jump from broker A to broker B. And this is what most of the rest of the world is actually on. So if you don't spend the time educating your customer and your clients about the fact that you can help them with anything that's available in the market, you're just setting yourself up for them jumping from person to person to person, broker to broker to broker. And it's not their fault. It's your fault because you didn't educate them. So all they're doing is what they know what to do from their own environment there back home. You need to find your niche. What is it that you are going to focus on? And so I've given you a few different ideas here as to what you might want to focus on, some different areas. So maybe you're going to focus on a country or a few countries that you like to travel to. Or maybe you were originally born in your home country is a different country and you want to work with your home country. Perfect case in point, my wife is from Trinidad and Tobago, and she is a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago and a U.S. citizen. So while she's licensed here in the U.S., they just actually opened a brokerage in Trinidad and Tobago to be able to help facilitate both transactions in Trinidad and Tobago and also here in the U.S. because there's a lot of people, a lot of Trinis that come here to the United States. And I'm sure you see a lot of them in your area as well. Countries that you have friends or family that are living in, right? Those are good places to be able to expand your business there. Maybe you speak a different language. So based on your language that you speak, that might be where you're looking at. Or affinity groups. Well, what is an affinity group? What do you enjoy doing? Do you enjoy horseback riding, for example? Do you enjoy mountain climbing? Whatever it is that you enjoy doing, there's probably an affinity group for that. And I'm sure you can expand your global network through that as well. Let me tell you one of the biggest mistakes that I made when I first started off with global real estate. Because, I think it's important to not only talk about, things that work well and things that, ideas for you to be able to grow your business. But I think it's also important to share, mistakes that are made along the way because we all make mistakes. So here's one of mine. Well, the huge mistake that I made early on was I was only interested in going direct to consumer. As I traveled around, I only wanted to talk directly to consumers who could say yes and buy my stuff. Well, that's a mistake. Now, I'm not saying don't ever do that, but it's much better to engage the right professionals on the other side to be able to build your network, to be able to still have somebody there who, when you leave, there's still somebody there singing your song. There's still somebody there, boots on the ground, that are working with you. So don't make this a mistake that I made a long time ago. You want to be able to partner up with the right people. And I stress the right people. There's plenty of people out there, but the right people will accelerate and help your business grow. I like to use the example of a ship. The right people will go ahead and help your ship sail. The wrong people on the other side will sink your ship faster than anything. So, it's very important to find those right people. Not necessarily the easiest thing in the world, but very important to find those right people there. Let me share with you a few business models, commercial and business opportunities. So some of you are probably commercial brokers. A lot of you are probably residential brokers. And so there's a lot of differences between the two. And if you want to focus on what your particular niche is, let's say you're residential, then partnering up with somebody from a commercial or from a business opportunity side of things makes a lot of sense. Referral only. I have had plenty of students that have changed their entire business model to just doing referrals. They don't go and take listings. They don't work with buyers. They just do referrals. Dollar for dollar, hour per hour, you make more money doing referrals than you do actually doing the deal. Now, I did not say that you make more money overall doing referrals. Dollar for dollar, hour per hour, you do. So referrals are a huge, huge business there. You might be able to do marketing only. So you connect up with somebody from a different area and you work out a deal so that you market the property internationally on behalf of the seller there. And one that I really love is what I call the connector. You don't have the listing and you don't have the buyer, but you know the perfect listing and you know who has the buyer, and you play matchmaker basically and put them together. In global, most people are willing to share. So if you took a little bit of the commission from one side and a little from the other side, most people are willing to do that to put a deal together. And so there's lots of opportunity in that front as well there. Let's talk about goals here real quick. The top 5 reasons why people don't have goals, written goals. Number 1, they're not serious. Number 2, they don't understand the importance of goals. Number 3, they don't know how to write the goal. And the big ones are the last ones here. Number 4, they fear rejection. Number 5, they fear failure. These are your top 5 reasons why people don't have written goals. I'm hoping that you guys have written goals. If you don't, now is a good time to actually sit down and write down your top 3 goals. Your top 3 global real estate goals, your top 3 real estate goals as a whole, and your top 3 personal goals as well. Why only 3 of each one? Because you need to focus on those and not get blind, get so diluted into having 10 or 20 goals that you're not really focused on anything. Focus on getting this done, and then you will be able to add a different one in its place on the list. Another book that I suggest that you do is that you read is Start With Why by Simon Sinek. You need to understand your why. This is a foundational type of setup. You guys know in real estate, if your foundation is faulty, the whole thing crumbles and it all comes tumbling down. So it's very, very important that you understand what your why is. Excuse me. What is a goal? So just real quick, as you guys are doing your goals, right? It needs to be specific. It needs to be measurable. It needs to be achievable. It needs to be relevant and time bound. This is what we call SMART goals. Each one of your goals should fall under this concept. Specific, to write it out and be clear and concise. Measurable means the ability to be able to track. Achievable means that it should be challenging, but you still should be able to reach the goal. Relevant meaning that the goals are in line with your overall plan and time bound that there is a time associated with when you're going to accomplish that. One other big thing that I find that people need, they need an accountability partner. And you need to give that accountability partner the ability, the empowerment to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. This one thing, this one concept will drive you further than anything else. Make sure you get an accountability partner. Make sure you meet with them on a regular basis and let them know what it is that you're doing and what your goals and all of that are, so that they can help you be the best version of you. We talked about the fact that this is a team sport. This is not something that you're going to accomplish by yourself. Now, this is by no means an all-inclusive list, but this is kind of your foundational list of who you need to have involved. Well, your attorney side of things. Well, you're probably going to have different attorneys, maybe an immigration attorney, a real estate attorney, an estate attorney, a tax attorney, for example. You're going to need to have an accountant or a CPA, probably a foreign national lender or two, a currency conversion company like a Money Corp, a handyman, because there's always little things that need to get fixed, and a professional property management company if you are not in that business yourself. Of course, there's other ones, but this is kind of a foundational list of who you should have on your team. Let's talk a little bit about different resources that are available. So Realtor Association resources, then we'll look at some online resources and some offline resources. So if you go to nar.realtor/global, that will take you to NAR's website, specifically to the global section. And there under that, you will find reports. There's all kinds of reports under the statistical section. Dr. Lawrence Yun, being the chief economist, heads up all of that. Cooperating associations. These are associations that are in other countries that are connected to NAR with what's known as a bilateral agreement. This means that you can find their contact information out there. You can reach out to them, and you can have that as a starting point of being able to build your business in that country. Ambassador associations are our local associations here in the US that are connected to a cooperating association on the other side. President's Liaison was the previous program. Now it's called Global Ambassador. And so there are global ambassadors that are assigned to several countries. And these are people that are appointed by the president of NAR to work with those countries. These are wonderful people to be able to reach out to and ask for help getting connected to whichever country it is that you're looking to do. And of course, then there's CIPS designee resources for those of you that hold your Certified International Property Specialist designation. You're able to go into those resources. There's a CIPS directory of all CIPS designees throughout the world for you to be able to locate other practitioners that have had that education as well. I use Florida Realtors as an example since I'm based in Florida, but I am licensed in a number of other states. But Florida Realtors has their own website, and they have international statistics, just like a lot of state associations have international statistics on the state and local level. Home buying guides that are in different languages. Copies of real estate contracts that are in different languages, so you can give them out to people. Now, my strong suggestion is if you're going to give a contract out in a different language, give it out in the English version as well, and make sure to let them know that it's going to be the English version that we're signing. So if there's any discrepancies or anything like that, it's going to be on the English side of things. Trade missions, memorandums of understanding to work better together, and global networking opportunities. And then I just use the Broward, Palm Beach, and St. Lucie Realtors as an example at the local level. Searchable profiles of members on a website, site-wide translation, and in different languages, currency calculator, a Facebook group with news and events and things that people want to pay attention to, local market exploration and luxury model experiences, education, networking, trade missions, things like that. Online resources. So news websites, in-country real estate websites, social media. Most of you have a Google account, so Google Alerts is free for, if you have a Google account. You can just tell Google to pay attention to specific search terms that you're looking for. And as it's scouring the internet, it will actually send you an email with a link to where it found that search term. So it'll do all the hard work for you. You just wait for the email to come and you click on it and you're able to find out whatever that information was. Active Rain is the largest real estate blog platform that's out there. Proxio and RealBuzz are both platforms where you can expose properties internationally and also network with other practitioners and build your global network. Realtor.com/international, your listings syndicate out there, but then others are able to add into that as well on the international side. Relocation sites, international retirement as well. So the question then is, how do you connect from the US? Reach out. Lots of them are on WhatsApp. You can send an email, reach out to the global ambassador and say, hey, I'd like to be connected up with somebody. This is what I'm trying to do. And they'll be able to get you connected as well there. Of course, now these days, you're able to do a lot via Zoom and stuff like that as well. So you can actually build your relationships like that also. Offline resources. So realtor associations, Chamber of Commerce, economic development councils, cultural clubs like the German American Club, the German or the Polish American Club, things like that. Religious groups, travel groups, developers, civic groups like Lions Club, Rotary, Kiwanis, clubs like that. They're all over the world themselves, but also they're constantly looking for connecting with other people also. So, just some offline resources for you to be able to use. Let me talk about webinars for a second. I'm sure in the last couple of years, you guys have been on more webinars than any other time in your life. But these allow you to position yourself as the expert in your field and deliver a bunch of value. The big thing is leverage. You can talk to lots of people at the same time. You also get increased audience engagement and you can generate leads this way. Now, this is one that you're going to want to take a snapshot of right here. I did the dirty work for you, and we expand upon this in the Global Real Estate Practitioner. But here are some of the top webinar platforms that are out there for different reasons. So I did this. I made a short list for you guys. Take this list, check it out a little bit more. There's hundreds of platforms, thousands of platforms out there, but these are some of the ones that I've selected after going through all of those to get you different options that are kind of top of the line options at different price points there. When you are setting a webinar, you need to make sure that you pay attention to selecting the date and the time. First of all, it doesn't do you any good to select a time that's convenient to you and that nobody else shows up. So you need to choose a time when people are available. And that's going to depend on when or who your target market is, when they're going to be available. A lot of times it's going to be a trial and error thing. You might not get this right the first time, but you know what? Hold the webinar anyway. You can practice. Consider that attendees are in different time zones. So when might be the appropriate time, or should you hold multiple of the same thing? And leverage ongoing or evergreen webinars. So a lot of times you have the capability to make it an ongoing recorded webinar, that starts in the next 5 minutes. When you guys see those types of things that pop into your email, understand those are recorded webinars. It is not a live webinar. How to market for your webinar and your or a seminar, social media marketing, which is where you're paying for it, search engine marketing on your website, blog posts, videos, live video, newsletters, direct mail, affiliate partners, just some ideas to help you out with your marketing of it, because it doesn't do any good to hold these things and have nobody there. You've got to broadcast the message there. How do you prepare for a seminar? So seminars are the ones where you hold them in your office or you hold it in a hotel. Well, the timing of the seminar is critical. You need to make sure that you have the appropriate travel arrangements, and don't ever show up the same day as the seminar. I'm sure some of you have had travel delays and flight cancellations and stuff like that. Nothing's worse than you have 100 people waiting to come see you, or 1,000 people waiting to come see you, and you're the one that's not there. So don't ever do that. Make sure you arrive in plenty of time. You're going to have to figure out a budget and finance. How are you going to finance and pay for this thing? I would encourage you to include some of your strategic alliance members, title companies, attorneys, mortgage companies, and look at them, since you're putting money in their pocket, for them to put money in your pocket to repeat the cycle. Who's your presentation team going to be? Oftentimes, as I go to different countries, I hire an event manager in-house. Why? Or in country? Why? Because they know and they have understand what works to bring in the people that I want to be there. And so they can work on that. They know and have agreements in place with hotels that I want to hold things at. So higher end hotels. Don't skimp out on this. And by the way, make sure that you stay at the same hotel that you are hosting the event at. There's a big difference between the Ramada and the Ritz-Carlton. If you're trying to reach out to luxury international buyers and you're holding it at the Ramada, well, then you're not in congruence with what your target market is, and they will see right through that. Source the correct people for the seminar and get them in the room. And of course, like I said, the location of the seminar makes all the difference in the world as well. You're going to have to figure out the logistics. You're probably going to have presentations, documentation, things like that. Keep in mind, anytime that you ship things and you're not taking it with you, you're going to have to be dealing with customs, immigration, and all of that side of things. So customs with your stuff going through, that doesn't happen overnight. So you got to plan in advance. Research and plan the presentation, and then ultimately develop the right presentation for the audience that you have there. You need to identify what resources that you're going to use. And then what is your follow-up process? You guys know the detail, the business is in follow-up. It's not the initial time, it's the follow-up. Your CRMs, if you don't have a CRM, you need to get a CRM. Your handwritten notes or whatever it is, whatever your process is, you've got to have a detailed follow-up process. Some of the other networks that you can use to grow your global business. I'm just talking, and there's plenty of other ones, but certified international property specialists. These are all NAR designations or certifications that are on this list anyway. But like I said, there's other ones, plenty of other ones outside of this. The accredited buyer representative, ABR, resort and second home property specialist, RSPS, senior real estate specialist, SRES. And by the way, I have had a number of students that after they took CIPS with me and they took SRES with me, they have changed their business to only working with helping people relocate outside the US for their retirement. So SRES and CIPS paired together. That's a wonderful combination. They have changed their business to only do that and they are a thriving business because, as you can imagine, it gets tougher and tougher to be here on your Social Security if you haven't planned on anything else. Whereas you can have a luxury life in a lot of these other countries. And this is why some of you are traveling to different countries to be able to help your customers and your clients like that. And then also the seller representative specialist as well. Working with developers, so many of your international clients are going to be interested in new properties. Right, very important that you build out your relationships with the developers that will work with you as a real estate practitioner, aka they will pay you commissions for bringing new buyers to them. Not all developers will do that. You can also go back to that developer and say, hey, I'd like to promote you internationally, or I'd like to promote you on my webinar. I'd like you to have some support in that. It's perfectly fine to ask people that you're putting money in their pocket to put money in yours so that you can continue to put more money in their pocket. Understand what that registration process is for the developer. Do you have to be there the first time? Can you just send a text message or an email registration? How long is that registration there for? And determine which ones that you can partner with for opportunities. You cannot be the agent to the entire world. You're going to have to focus. And it doesn't do you any good. I'm a big James Bond fan. I'm sure there's some of you out there that like 007. But if you don't focus, or if you keep yourself as a secret agent, your bank account will be 00 status, which is not good. So we don't want that to happen. We want you to be able to focus on one or two niches for you to spend your time on, to be able to grow and have your attention to be able to grow those areas. It's important that you go and learn about other cultures. One of the best ways to learn about other cultures is to actually go there, right? Experience it for yourself. Only 25% of US citizens have a passport, which means that only 25% have the ability to leave the country. Where does everybody else get their information from? The internet, the media. As you well know, those things can be very, very inaccurate. And it's important to build a referral relationship as well with other real estate practitioners and affiliates that are there. I know we've covered a lot of ground in the last hour. Hard to believe it's already been an hour to talk about this stuff all day long. What questions do you guys have that I might not have answered yet? Go ahead and type them into the Q&A box here. What questions do you have? No questions. Okay.
Oh, Brian, I think you were real thorough.
Thank you.
It's Mary Ann.
Thank you. Thank you. As I kind of just let me go ahead and just hit my little wrap up slide then and share just a couple final things. We talked about why global. We talked about working with your global customers. We talked about designing and defining your global business and leveraging resources and different methods of being able to market and grow your business. I want to leave you with this thought right here. Knowledge is not power. You guys have heard that before, that knowledge is power. That is not power. Applied knowledge is power. Why applied knowledge? You actually have to do something with it in order for it to help you out. So now is the time to take massive action and be confident in the plan that you set forward on. Make sure to pay attention to it, right? Make tweaks to it. It's a never-ending thing. It's a this is working, this isn't working as well. Let me go ahead and tweak this. Make sure your global team is in place, and I gotta stress this last one. make sure that you're having fun while you're growing your global business. If you're not having fun while you're doing this, you're doing something wrong, and it's your business. You can make the change on that.
We
So,
do have
yeah.
one question before
Yeah.
we wrap up. Someone's asking, can you show the slide of principles of accountability and goal setting, please?
Let's see, principles of accountability. These are why people don't have goals or written goals. I'm not sure if that's the one. This is the one about goals. So Peter Drucker is the kind of the father of modern management. And so this SMART goal concept is from him. And the big one that I talked about here was accountability. And you've got to have your accountability partner. For those of you who don't have this, this is the boot up your rear end, right? That is going to make sure that you are still staying on track with what you're supposed to be doing. It's okay to make changes. I guarantee you not a single person here, including myself, when I was planning for 2020, wrote on my business plan, COVID-19. We all had to change and we all had to adapt. But this is an ever-changing thing, but at least you have a plan and you know where you're going there. Okay, perfect. This one. Good one.
That was it.
Perfect. And then if you guys want to contact me, I made this nice and simple for you. Here's how to contact me. So that'll give you all my contact information. If you guys just zap that, that's a blank card, and that's another resource for you guys, because you're able to create virtual cards like that, and it's free for you to create 2 of them. So there's another resource for you. BLINQ. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Marianne.
Done. Thank you so very much. Lots of great information. Knowing the global group that we have, so many of the points that you put up there, they are well on their way. And, happy to say that great content. And after reading your bio, I'll be reaching out to you for maybe a more extensive or CE course with us at LIBOR.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good day. And thank you all for joining in.